John Hook's Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Saturday. When it opened in October of 2016, it was billed as an opportunity for visitors to interact with dolphins, learn about this amazing species, and be part of ocean conservation efforts. But from the beginning, protesters were also wading in, saying dolphins belong in the ocean, not in captivity, certainly not in a desert setting. In less than 2 years, 4 dolphins have died at Dolphinaris. Most recently, last week, Kai, a 22-year-old bottlenose dolphin. And that was a breaking point. It has forced Dolphinaris to shut its doors. And the word is, as of late Friday, that is a permanent thing. Dolphinaris may be no more, according to sources telling Fox 10 that it is over. Was this all a string of bad luck, or is something killing these creatures? Let's get started. Jeanette McCourt, a dolphin-free Arizona activist. She never liked this idea from the beginning, and she would prefer that Dolphinaris certainly remain closed for good. Good to see you.
Yes.
I see your shirt. You've got the names of all of the dolphins that have died in the past 2 years.
Yes, I do.
What's your take on this news late Friday, that Dolphinaris, that the closure is not temporary as they try to do necropsies and figure out what's wrong, that this is a permanent move?
Well, it's not a surprise to me. As I stated to a couple of other news stations, I went to the facility yesterday after my hospital visit and decided to just take a peek at the dolphins, and it was totally empty. The whole facility, the gift shop, everything was removed.
So you had a feeling this might be coming?
Yes.
You know, I sense in you not jubilation. No. That it's closed. You feel there's a bigger fight still to be had.
Absolutely. Dolphins in captivity anywhere, all over the world, is a money-making industry, and that's its sole purpose. So I'm very happy to hear that Arizona is doing the right thing, and the Pima Indian tribe is doing the right thing. I know that it took a lot of people to make this happen. However, 4 dolphins dying certainly puts the nail in the coffin for this place to never be here again.
And Jeanette, we're going to get to your story in a minute, because you've come literally full circle on this thing.
Yes.
Let me take you back with Nicole Garcia, who kind of sets the stage on how we got here. Take a look.
The recent death of Kai has now put a halt to operations, and the future of Dolphinaris is up in the air. A spokesperson tells Fox 10 some employees have already been laid off, while trainers and staff who work directly with the dolphins will remain there. Dolphinaris says they have brought in outside experts to learn more about why the dolphins are dying. Marine experts say it can be difficult to know when a dolphin is sick.
How do you know really how well an animal is doing? Dolphins, like I've said before, they look like they're always smiling, and when we look at them, you know, that's the impression we get. But yeah, they could be really struggling behind that smile.
Over the past 2 years, Dolphinaris has sold interaction packages, allowing people to swim with, pet, and play with the dolphins. The marine mammals are also used in therapy programs for special needs children. Some conservationists wonder if the constant interaction with humans may have led to the infections that ultimately killed 4 of the dolphins, who all died at a young age compared to their life expectancy. Through her experience and research with dolphins, she also believes the desert climate and enclosed pool could be factors that could compromise their immune systems.
That is going to be stressful, not just physically, but also mentally, right? These animals are really smart. If you, on top of that, add a swim with program where you have groups of people coming in and out of the pool to touch them and pet them, well, that's going to add another stressor.
Friday is the last day the facility will be open to the public. There is no time frame for reopening. Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
And once again, we are understanding as of late Friday that Dolphinaris is closing permanently. This is not a temporary thing. This was a statement that Dolphinaris put out. We are devastated by our losses and are getting help from external experts to help ensure the health of these dolphins. But again, late Friday, word that they are closing permanently. Jeanette McCourt was an activist, continues to be an activist. That's a picture of you in Jamaica?
Yes. Actually, no, this is at Discovery Cove in Orlando.
That's in Orlando. So you came full circle. You did this kind of dolphin exploration when they're in captivity.
Yes.
How did you feel after that experience?
Well, To be honest with you, I never actually felt peace with the decision to do it, but there's such a desire in humans to want to be near these magnificent creatures. So you ask questions and you're given answers that seem to appease you in the moment, and after money is invested and you can't get your money back, so you go and do it. And in this particular sense, I had already paid and I would not be receiving a refund, so I did the experience just to do it. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. We question, but we don't trust our gut and how we're feeling about things.
Full disclosure, our family did it. We did it. And then my wife and I had the experience, an incredible experience, off of Lanai in Hawaii, swimming with them in the wild. They just showed up at a beach one day and everyone went out. And they continued to swim with us for 30 minutes. We left before they left.
Wow.
So there is a connection that they feel with humans. There must be, or at least a curiosity.
Sure.
They weren't the least bit freaked out by being around humans. They seem to enjoy it.
Right. And I think that that's wonderful and that you had that opportunity, but I think it's free will, that they had the choice. And if you take anyone or any creature out of their natural habitat and try and force them to perform tricks, and dolphins are the only animals in captivity that are forced to work all day long doing and performing unnatural behaviors.
How much did Blackfish, the documentary that pretty much ended SeaWorld and the killer whales, how did that play into all of this? And do you believe that there is a tide turning on all of this?
Yes, I do believe. I mean, I personally could not even watch Blackfish emotionally. It was the first, few segments of it just extremely traumatized me mentally. But I do feel that films like that, what is the other, there's a few others, yes.
Jeanette, we've got less than a minute left.
Okay.
Do you believe what you did led to the closure? Your protests, the constant drumbeat?
I sure hope so. I sure hope that it did. I would think that it had something to do with it, because otherwise, why would anyone continue to go out there? But yes, I do believe that.
And we've got about 15 seconds. Do you continue this fight, even though in Arizona it appears Dolphinaris is no more?
Oh, absolutely. This is a worldwide problem, and we are going to continue to fight for the dolphins and the safety of the remaining 4 that will be transported.
Thank you so much.
You're
Great
welcome.
to see you.
You're welcome.
And we're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday. Thank you.
Okay.
Back on Newsmaker Saturday, so many things happening in Washington on Capitol Hill, and no one better to break it down for us than Chad Pergram, Fox News congressional correspondent in Washington, D.C. Chad, great to see you. Let's start with the situation right now on border negotiations. It sounds like we're starting to get some movement after it seemed like there was just a logjam and we couldn't get anywhere on this. Are they close to getting something done?
Well, there's two kind of barometers I use to judge how people are doing up here. When you know that they're starting to get close, members start to clam up. Nita Lowey, Democrat from New York, she's the chair of the Appropriations Committee in the House of Representatives. She's usually pretty loquacious in the hall. She's been pretty circumspect when you go up and talk to her. What that is a signal that they are really working and trying to hammer something out. In fact, as we speak this weekend, they are working behind closed doors, senior staff, trying to put this into legislative form. The deadline really to put this onto the House floor and get legislative text is Monday. The reason is that the House of Representatives now has what we call the 72-hour rule, a full 72 hours that they have to post the text before they can vote on it. And then, of course, if you get it through the House, you have to get it through the Senate. But when members start to, there's a little bit of pep in their step, you know that they're actually getting
right.
somewhere. President Richard Shelby, who's the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, went down late at the end of the week to meet with the president. I'm going to read you exactly what his quote was when he came back up here. He said, quote, "It's the most positive meeting I've ever had with the president."
Wow.
That's pretty remarkable when you hear language like that.
That's saying something. So do we expect then there will be funding in this for a border? Well, we can't call it a wall. It's going to be a series of barriers over some of the 2,000 miles. Is that going to be part of this?
Yes, there's going to be something in that. And I was told early on that you probably would not see the letters W-A-L-L anywhere in the text, even though it might be something that Republicans would define as a W-A-L-L. I'm told that what they're looking for right now is an amount of money that's somewhere north of $1.3 billion. And then what is the trade-off for Democrats who don't want a wall? They start to put restrictions as to how those wall dollars or fence dollars or barrier dollars are used. One of the most nettlesome things in the negotiations, though, is interior enforcement. More ICE agents, ICE beds.
Right.
That's something Democrats are very mindful of, and they don't want that. That's really going to be something that they have to resolve before this is all settled.
Chad, did the president, in your view, gain any advantage from the State of the Union on Tuesday night? Some of the flash polling done right after showed that most Americans kind of liked what they heard on Tuesday night.
Well, there was a lot of comparisons, actually, even from pretty neutral observers, that the speech was almost Reagan-esque. I mean, there were some Reagan-esque flourishes. He kind of ad-libbed, went off script. He kind of engaged with all the House Democratic women, wearing white and talking about all the new women in the House of Representatives. So there was times, where he does and excels pretty well in that format. But at the end of the day, it comes down to specifics. Afterwards, I spoke with Democratic Delaware Senator Chris Coons. There was the comment about, cancer treatment and AIDS treatment, and he said, where are the specifics? At one point, he was talking about $500 million over 10 years. $500 million with an M as in Mary, that's not a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So when you get down to the, what the actual specifics are, that's the problems. But from a rhetorical standpoint, flourishes, it worked in that regard. I'm
curious, Chad, about this Green Deal that Democrats have unveiled. This is a bold proposal on climate and economic changes that could really affect the entire U.S. economy. Now, granted, none of this is written in stone. This is really kind of a blueprint, and it's pie in the sky. There's really no teeth to it, right? It's just kind of saying, this is what we'd like to see, but there's no teeth there, correct?
Well, when you talk with Democratic New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this is a resolution. It's non-binding. There's not even specific dollar proposals in there. But when people peel through it and read through it, they say, what does this really mean? Shifting to, a carbon-free footprint pretty quickly, curbing air travel, that's a problem because you just can't upset the economy that quickly. Mazie Hirono is a Democratic senator from Hawaii, and she was asked specifically about getting rid of the air travel or reducing that. She said that's going to be pretty expensive then to get to Hawaii, to fly back and forth from the mainland and to Washington, D.C. But you have to remember, this is the challenge that Democrats have to both execute their ideas but also not seem too radical. Can they strike that balance? It was funny at Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker's press conference late in the week. She was asked about the Green New Deal. She said she had not even read it, and then she immediately pivoted over to the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis. That's the exact title of the committee, and talked about that. It was almost a way to kind of poo-poo what they were propounding with the Green New Deal and say, wait a minute, we're going to do this by the book in this committee. Yeah, this is the kind of the break between the old guard and the new guard. Chad Pergram, thank you so much. Fox News congressional correspondent, Washington, D.C. We really appreciate your work. And so appreciate your time, Chad. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good seeing you. We're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday. Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday. There's so much seriousness in the world, but, we all need a laugh. And there is actually plenty to laugh about. You just got to dig down a little bit. Michael Turner has been doing comedy in Phoenix since 2012. He is kind of a staple in this town, and he's a Cincinnati guy who moved out here to go to ASU. Go Devils. Go Devils. And he is some really cool shows in the Valley that you got to check out. Literally the worst show ever. That's one of them. And This Week Sucks Tonight. That's every Thursday night at the Crescent Ballroom at 11 o'clock. Yep. Good to see you, man. Thank you, sir. Pleasure to have you on. Yeah, thanks for having me. Okay, I've got to ask you this. We're in and it's a political show. Are you guys handcuffed right now doing comedy? Because it's just a toxic atmosphere. You could say something that one half of the room thinks is hilarious, and the other half is like, oh, really? Yeah, and do I feel handcuffed? No, I think a true comedian will always just try to find where is the humor. Yeah. And sometimes I would say right now you've probably got to dig a little bit more than you used to have to. Really? Work a little harder to find that, right? So Trump is not just a gift that keeps on giving. You got to go a little deeper. I mean, I think that a lot of the perspectives on him are so general that anybody can say a certain take on Trump.
that is
just the walk and the character. It is.
I've said it before. We say it on our Thursday show all the time. He's the best working comedian. He is. He's first of all, he's making more money than almost all of us. Maybe not Chappelle, but he is funny, and I think he's unintentionally funny, but he's quick-witted.
He's outrageous.
He's one of the best crowd work comedians. If you ever say something, he will call you out. And as a comedian, you do have to give respect to the comedy, but
he does have a presence, which is,
yes.
and you know about this. You've got to walk out on that stage, and you got to have something.
You got to have a backbone. You got to have a backbone. It's a hard time to be a comedian and just assume you're not going to offend anybody. What you have to do is realize that not everybody's going to like everything you do. But I don't think it's a great time to just go out there and intentionally be divisive. I mean,
is there a part? I'm curious about this, and I talked to you before you came out. We talked about Phil Hartman, which I know you love Phil Hartman.
Yep.
Saturday Night Live, tragically killed, but brilliant guy.
Oh yeah.
I think about the Reagan sketch that he did on Saturday Night Live, where Reagan's this kind of buffoonish character. Well, nice to see you.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. And then the door closes and he becomes this mastermind, pulling down the charts, moving troops around. He's completely sharp as a tack, engaged.
Yeah.
It's funny without being nasty.
True. And I think that a lot of the stuff that's being said now is just nasty. I think a lot of the comics sometimes just have to take a step back and be able to say, is that really funny, or is it just me trying to take somebody down? He makes himself an easy target to be taken down. But is there a joke there? Are you telling a joke, or are you just being nasty, right?
So what your take on Trump, and I know you do some of it in the show.
Sure.
Give me a little bit of your material.
I mean, my take on Trump, and I don't know if we'll show this clip or not, but I know that my perspective on him is that because the nation's so divided right now, it's just, they're telling us we're all thinking this way and that way, and everybody's so split up right now. And that's frustrating to say, because I know that we're more unified than they give us credit for.
We're more alike than we're different.
And one perspective
I
have is the fact that nobody watching this right now, anybody in this country right now, was sitting on their couch in the year 2008 watching The Apprentice thinking, this dude gets it. Like, this dude should be doing more than this show.
Wow. It's a funny bit.
And it's true, though.
But it's a funny bit because it's not nasty.
It's not. I'm just trying to, say, this is real. Like, nobody drew it up like this. Nobody expected it to be like this, and here we are.
That's what makes it fun. So when the election comes around, are there any Democrats where you look at and go, oh, that would be fertile ground?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you got right now? You've got the Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. He's independent, though.
Yes.
Could be fun.
And maybe running, maybe not. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what he's doing right now.
But when Trump does something like, I mean, it is so politically incorrect. But the whole Pocahontas thing.
Yes.
There is something, I mean, people would listen to it and go, you can't say that, and they're chuckling.
And he does it.
He does it. In a way, he has kind of broken down this political correctness thing, which for comedians, I would think, would be handcuffs. The PC world is trouble for you guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Yeah, well, I never try to go out there and try to offend. It's never my intention to offend somebody. If I walk off the stage and I've offended somebody, that does occur, but intention, I think, is a large factor. I think
they know what your heart is.
Right, and I think his intention sometimes is...
No, I think you're right about that.
It's kind of nasty, too, which is unfortunate.
And the Pocahontas thing was certainly, I mean, he was going for the jugular on that.
He did it, and he did it. And, I just, I don't agree with things like that when he says that.
What did you make of the all of the monikers that he came up with for his opponents in the Republican primary in 2016?
Yeah.
Low energy Jeb, Little Marco.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one after another. It was a bit.
Yeah.
Were you just taking notes going, oh, this is going to be great stuff?
I think it's interesting that the one person that is kind of having significant pushback recently is Nancy Pelosi, and he hasn't got a catchphrase for her yet.
You're right. Why is that?
I don't know.
Do you have any theories?
she's tough to pin down because she has a backbone, and he knows that she can clap back at him.
But there is, you know, with her sometimes, and the press has gotten on her about this. She's forgetful. She sometimes loses her place.
Sure.
She's got kind of a wild-eyed look sometimes, like she's, you know, tripping out. And so people have jumped on that. Is that something you can go to, or is that a no-go in a room full of, say, Democrats?
I mean, she just reminds me of my mother the first time she caught me doing drugs. I'm always like, it wasn't me, it was John. It was John.
Right.
But you know, it's the political thing. Sometimes it's just like, just be funny about relationships. Just be funny about, there's so many other things to be funny about. It doesn't always have to be so political. We don't all have to be Dennis Miller. We don't all have to be George Carlin. And at the end of the day, you're never going to be George Carlin, right?
Right. Is the key that in comedy, and I don't do this, so you got to tell me, set me straight.
Yeah.
Is the key that you have to for something to be funny, there has to be a kernel of truth to it where people go, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about.
I always say that. I think that the best comedy is rooted in truth. One of my sayings always is, look within. If you look within yourself for the truth within yourself, then you can connect with others. And I think that you either have to be so deeply personal with a joke that you're able to bring people into your world, and so they're able to see something about you, and they're learning something about you that's very truthful. The opposite of that is you can be so universally truthful that it's a fact that everybody in the audience can accept. And if you can hit one of those two things, either something deeply personal about yourself or something universally truthful about everybody in the audience, then you're going to have a killer joke.
Let me put up Kathy Griffin for a second.
Her saying that this guy's head should be in my hand and cut off.
Quick couple of things. Your heroes. Who are your heroes in stand-up?
Right now, alive, Bill Burr is one of my favorites, as well as, you know, all the legends, Chris Rock, Chappelle. But the most influential on my life was definitely George Carlin. My dad always pushed, you know, he had all those books, and I remember, you know, we would be on a rain delay for a baseball game, and we'd be sitting in the car reading George Carlin books, waiting for the rain to go by. And all his specials on HBO and CDs and stuff, I had them all. So at a young age, I was put on to that, and my dad always had a really good sense of humor. He actually worked on the Johnny Carson show in his 20s. He did. Paige and NBC, and so Jonathan Winters and some old school guys.
Brilliant
he would
comedian.
throw Jerry Lewis at me and all those old school guys too.
What I always like to ask guests, you know, you've been doing this now for what, 7 years or so? Yep. What have you learned?
I have learned more about myself probably doing it than any other time in my life. I've learned to continue to push. It is getting into comedy is not for the faint of heart. If you know, hear somebody, you tell a joke and it doesn't work, a lot of people just bail on it, but you got to realize you probably got to rework that joke and go do it again and not fail,
Get
right?
back on the horse.
But that feeling, that initial feeling, is something that you have to overcome. So the immediate failure is just as quick as the immediate success of hearing a laugh. And that immediate failure, you got to be able to push through that. And so I've really learned the most about my own personal perseverance and being able to not take no, and also just kind of continue to push through some of the negative stuff. And
well, best of luck to you, Michael. Michael Turner and the show, literally the worst show ever, and This Week Sucks Tonight. Weekly show live streamed on Facebook every Thursday at 11 p.m. Great to see you, man.
Appreciate you, John.
Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Sunday. As always, you can find me on Facebook at John Hook Fox 10. Love to hear your comments on the show, and also on Twitter, John Hook Fox 10. We'll see you next week on Newsmaker Saturday.